What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the Thrustmaster Eswap X Pro controller. And before we get into it, I just got to say this. Why are you guys called the Thrustmaster? I don't want to make dirty jokes or anything, but really? Like, is the controller called the Thrustmaster, or is your company called the Thrustmaster? Either way, what's the thrusting? Who's thrusting? Why the thrusting? Like, Thrustmaster? Thrustmaster? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, but whatever. Just, straight out the gate, one thing I can say about this controller is that it is a very unique try, a very unique controller, and I'll explain why. First off, the packaging on this box is beautiful. It's one of the top 3 box packagings that I've had for controllers. What you get right out the box is the controller. You get some swappable thumbsticks. You also get a 10-foot braided cable, though it's micro USB. So if you're hoping for USB-C, sorry guys. You also get a little Thrustmaster pouch to hold everything in there. It's kind of cool. They didn't have a carrying case, but they had this, so not bad. I'll definitely take it. And then you have the controller. Now the controller, I like it a lot. I actually like it a lot. There are some things to keep in mind though. So this controller is not your average Xbox controller. It's actually a lot bigger. I think it's even bigger than the PlayStation 5 controller. Okay, so as you can see, the Thrustmaster X does beat out the PlayStation 5 controller by a few centimeters or millimeters or something. It is slightly bigger. I'll also show you another angle. I think this is actually the biggest controller in my collection. So if you're a person with very small hands, may not work out for you. That's something to think about. Then you have the thumbsticks, which are slightly taller than regular Xbox Series thumbsticks, and they're also slightly larger, like wider in like diameter. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now the buttons of the controller are a complete ASMR experience. I'll show you right now. Every button is very tactile, very clicky, very mechanical. You can hear, this is just the AB, this is the A, B, X, Y buttons. Just listen. Very clicky. In comparison, you'll see that Xbox buttons are normally mushy. See? It's okay, it's not bad. Those are the differences. The D-pad is also the same. Very clicky. Everything is just very clicky. Complete ASMR experience. Now, here is the part that we was all waiting for. You can, yes, switch any part of this controller except the X, Y, B, A buttons. But, I mean, look. Now, there is no analog stick. And then you could take this out with a little screw that they give you right here. You could just take it out. And it's pretty easy. You just take it out and then boom. Which is pretty cool. Now, one thing they don't tell you is that yes, you can shuffle these all around, but you actually can't play the game or really any good game with the D-pad on the right side. So if you try to have the analog sticks both like this, you're actually not going to be able to play a game with them, which is something that I tried and it did not work. I did not try every game though, so I don't know if certain games are different from others when it comes to this configuration, but it did not work. I actually really like playing with it as a PlayStation kind of controller. It was a lot more fun that way, and it made more sense that way, especially since this is such a big controller. The first thing that you were probably used to playing with that are big as a controller is a PlayStation controller. So it just made more sense to play with that configuration. I had way more fun and just a way better experience when I made it feel like a PlayStation controller. Now the back buttons, I don't really like them. They tried something there, but I just hate when the back buttons are in the middle of the controller. I don't like it. Razer tried that. I didn't like it. It's just nasty. Like, why? When you could just have it here. Like, dude, how do you put them here? That's where it belongs. Why would you put it anywhere else? It doesn't. Guys, it doesn't make any sense. So I didn't really use the back paddles much. You could just extend your middle finger, right? Like if you rest your middle finger here, you could have a pretty good time. But I just find it so much less comfortable than if it was along the handle. So, and honestly, that's one feature that's really taking this review down a notch. Like everything else about the controller was interesting, but these back paddles really lost me. One other thing to note is that they flipped where the share and the Xbox buttons are. So one thing that did happen a couple times, you kind of got to get used to it, but you know, I would go to press the Xbox button but end up pressing the share button instead. And sometimes I wanted to take a screenshot, ended up pressing the Xbox button. So that's something you do have to get used to. You have to be mindful of when you first get this controller, but it's not a big deal. I don't know why they would do it though. It's not like that was an improvement. It just confused things, but hey, it was interesting. That's just something to note. With this same screwdriver, you can also unscrew the triggers on the back. So here you go, just unscrewing them. It's pretty easy too. You really like one thing I like about this controller, really leaves you feeling like a mechanic, you know, like really leaves you feeling like a guy who knows what he's doing, though you probably don't. Here you go, you take out the screw and boom, now this is off. And you can actually see the trigger itself. So that's pretty cool. And then if you want to put it back in, it's really as simple as putting it back in. Whoop-de-doop. Back in coop. Now the thumbsticks, the D-pad, and the triggers aren't the only things that are swappable. Also the handles are swappable. So if you put pressure on them, you could take it right off. Get a little fancy. You can do the same thing here. Like, I gotta say, I like this controller a lot for all the customization that you can do with it. Like, a lot of fun. Now, on the website, you can go and buy yourself, I believe, blue, purple versions of all these parts. So you can really, you know, have fun with this. Funny enough, I actually didn't know that till after I bought the controller that this was available to me. So I really wish I could have bought the parts to customize for you guys and you could see, but life goes on. Either way, that is it. That is what is available to you guys. So don't be like me. If you really want to customize this thing, by all means, just know that the customizations come with no real upgrades. But one other thing to know is that if you are finding that your thumbsticks are starting to experience stick drift, what you can do, which is the beauty of this controller, is just buy another thumbstick from them, take it out, and then put the new one in. Which is pretty cool. Is that the end-all be-all fix to stick drift issues? Maybe not. It's definitely a way to handle stick drift. But if you really want to handle stick drift, just use stick drift preventable PCBs on the analog sticks. Like that's a much better way to go about it, instead of, you know, them kind of just making you have to keep coming back. That's kind of like what Scuff did. I wouldn't call this a money grab. It is an actual solution to stick drift. Like if you don't end up experiencing stick drift, you never have to go do that. But you know, you could just make better sticks. Like that is also an option. So that's something that companies just, they don't really like to do. But we know a little better, don't we, Chukavelli gang? The audio quality on this controller was also top notch. Almost as good as the Victrix Gambit audio and the Turtle Beach audio controllers. Like really good audio for a controller. Didn't expect that at all, so that was pretty dope. Remapping the buttons on the back is very simple. All you have to do is hold down the map button as the LED light flashes. Then you just click the back button along with the button that you want. It syncs, and then boom, you're good to go. This controller also comes with 2 profile mappings that you can switch between, which is pretty cool to have on the fly. It also comes with a built-in mic mute button and a built-in volume adjusting button as well. So not bad. It definitely comes packed with features. Now let's talk about the trigger locks on this controller. I felt like the trigger locks on this controller were very underwhelming. They were pretty whack, pretty piss poor, to be honest with you. Like, look at how much you still have to press when the trigger lock is on. It only takes away maybe 50% of the full press. It barely took anything off the trigger press. Now, what I will say is that in comparison to a regular Xbox controller, the full press is shorter than an Xbox full press. Much different full presses. So that is kind of cool. So the base press on the Thrustmaster is a lot shorter than the bass press on an Xbox controller. But I just feel like if you're gonna give me trigger stops, the trigger stop should stop me like here. Like if this is the full press, some controllers trigger stops go up to about here. And for me, I need all controllers trigger stops to go to here. If this is going to be considered a trigger stop, I need it to be like that. That's how I am when it comes to my trigger stops. But the Thrustmaster, good triggers, but bad trigger stops. Now, thankfully, I was able to get this controller for $130, but it's only because it was on sale at GameStop. This controller really retails for $160, which is really crazy to me for a wired controller. The controller also comes with a 2-year warranty, which, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. 2-year warranty, that's incredible for a controller. They have my round of applause as well. On this channel, there's only ever been one other controller that came with a long warranty, which is the Victrix Gambit. If there was another controller with a good warranty, my fault if I forgot it. But it's only the Victrix Gambit, which I just reviewed, and now this controller. So, warranty winning, and I'll say that. Now, what do I think about this controller? It's a really good controller. It has a lot of different features that come with it. Even though it's wired, I definitely like it a lot. My problem with it though is that for 160 bucks, I wouldn't consider this controller worth it. Not for 160 bucks. Honestly, I'm sorry. I did get it for 130 though. So maybe at 130 it can make sense. Really, I would value this controller at about 110. 100 to 110. Highest I'll go is 120. I don't see why this controller is $160. Doesn't make any sense. And it's a wired controller. If it was wireless, you got me, but it's a wired controller. You're telling me that you're charging me $160 for swappable parts? Is that the feature that you're charging me for? And back paddles that I do not agree with, they're whack. And trigger stops that are okay? No, for $160, I can't recommend this controller. I'm sorry. It's a good controller. Very great controller. And if you're really in love with all the things that come with this controller, then okay, and you got money like that, spend it at the strip club. I mean, spend it at GameStop. If that's what you want to do, then boom, that's what you want to do. But if you're a person who's really trying to use their money wisely, I really can't recommend this controller at anything more than 120. If you happen to get it on sale like I do, then maybe get it for 130, okay. But 160, no, can't recommend it. Another bonus feature of this controller is that, just like the Victrix Gambit, is a much faster controller than normal Xbox controllers. Its response time and latency is about 3 to 4 milliseconds in comparison to the normal Xbox controller, which is somewhere between 7 and 8. So literally, the response time is double the speed. So it's a really good job on Thrustmaster's part. Overall, what do you think about the controller? If you own it, let me know what you've thought about it. Is there anything that I missed out on that I could have brought up? You know I love the engagement in the comments, so please leave it down below. And if I did a good job, remember to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it takes this channel to a higher level. Thank you. Chukavelli was in. Oh, wait, no. Chukavelli was in, and now Chukavelli is out. Peace to the Middle East, y'all.